Well, hey, friends, it's been a minute. TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile. They want you to visit T-Mobile.com/acrossamerica to learn how you get more value and coverage through T-Mobile. So it's the College World Series time and having a great time, especially that victory yesterday against Texas. Brauny called it maybe the biggest win in program history. What are your thoughts on that? Type it down low. Give me your thoughts. I want you to comment on it and give me your thoughts on the Aggies' victory over Texas yesterday in the College World Series. So on the show, we had Billy Liucci, who was there at the CWS in Omaha. He gave us his perspective. Love talking to him around Aggieland with Richard Zane. He was on a mobile, and he brought the heat as well. Brauny analyzing what that victory means, big long-term, and also what it means for the rest of hopefully a long tournament run. And Jim Schloss, the head coach, joined us on the program, as he always does on Monday. Appreciate his thoughts. It is TexAgs Rewind. How big was it yesterday, limiting the meat of their lineup? Obviously, Melendez in those key moments, that was big. The strikeout, just the fact that you were able, one of the best offenses in the country, limit what they can do.
Well, it's really the untold story of the game. The things I've heard people talk about, they talk about the Palish at bat against, or Melendez at bat against Palish, but it was first and third, nobody out in the first inning with Melendez up, and then Staley up behind him, and we got Micah punched both those guys out. He ended up giving up a 2-out hit, but he definitely limited the damage. And then I think Melendez led off. Did he lead off 2 innings or 3 innings? So getting Kennedy out with 2 outs ahead of Melendez was huge, because anytime you can have Melendez leading off, it's hard to hit a grand slam with nobody on base. So that's always a good thing. And so he was, we made good pitches to him, and he hit one ball hard right at us. But other than that, we really pitched well against the best player in the country.
Well, what about the bottom of the second inning, too, where the offense really started getting going, those 4 runs, but specifically the Trevor Warner at-bat, where it was just pitch after pitch after pitch, and he was so patient and really was taxing on that on the Texas pitcher.
Really was, and he swung a ball 3 or 4 different times, but the fastball's up. But the key was he was fouling those fastballs off into the right field seat, and that's the whole. Anytime you're facing a left, if you're a right-handed hitter and you're facing a left-handed pitcher with a great changeup, if you're going to try and pull the guy's fastball, then the changeup's just going to get you. You're going to be in so much trouble. And so the key is that you have to stay on the baseball. Coach Early calls it moving your sights to right center field or even right field if you have to. So he was, in other words, not intentionally late on the fastball, but he was just trying to, if he was going to hit a fastball, he was going to hit it to right field, and that would put him on time for the elevated changeup. Nobody hits the really good fading, sinking changeup, but it would put him on time for one that was maybe up a little bit, and that's eventually what he got. It was a decent pitch, but it was up just enough, and he was on time to be able to, get a good part of the bat on the ball.
Dallas obviously pitching with a lot of confidence right now. Just what did you see early on that you saw that he was able to steady the ship as the game went on?
Yeah, I thought he had a good. I thought for him, he's not a big velocity fastball, but I thought the ball was coming out of his hand really well. Had some good zip to it, and he was at the bottom of the strike zone, at least from my vantage point. So even though it took him a while to get going, and we certainly. We kicked the ball around. He threw away a bunt, but he also had a couple nice fielding plays himself. But I thought he had for him a good fastball, decent fastball command. He always has to break the ball, and he even threw some good changeups. So he's pitching at his confidence is at an all-time high. And Micah, he's such a great human being. He's such a competitor. He went for that stretch during the season where he had some doubt, and every athlete goes through that. And now he's a big vivacious personality, and he has that going on the mound, and that's really how he needs to operate.
We got some questions coming in about the double steal, and just again, Schloss's his approach. He's 2 steps ahead of coaches, I feel, man. Talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah, so it was a brilliant call, and the timing of it is what was when you're looking at through a coach's lens, that was the most impressive thing. Was Sean Allen, the Texas pitching coach, had gone out to talk to the Longhorn defense about, A&M potentially trying to run a double steal and how they were going to defend it. So, that's fresh in their minds whenever he goes back to the dugout. And I think Schloss waited 4 pitches, maybe 5 pitches after that mound meeting to actually put it on. So it felt like when I'm watching the game, it felt like when Thompson took off, Texas was a little bit on their heels. Like they went, oh crap, he's running, and then we got to go. And like it's a chance you take with Cole Kaler at the plate, who struggled in RBI spots and 2 outs, and so you're trying to essentially steal a run, and you're going to make Texas play catch in a game where they were on their heels from especially about the 4th inning on. Texas was really on their heels, so just playing the game and fast forward, playing the game faster than your opponent, and then having the feel for when to call it and when to put it on. I thought that was brilliant by Schloss. And, Ardoin throws an in-between hop to second base, and Faltini can't dig it out of the dirt. And, I don't even know that it would have gotten Jordan Thompson if it would have been clean. And so you would have scored the run anyway. So, Schloss pushed all the right buttons yesterday.
Talking to Brauny on the BCSI hotline. Some other things coming in, Brauny, but let's talk about the meat of the lineup that A&M was able to control. Obviously, they had some issues up top of their lineup, but Texas, the fact that they were able to control that top part of their lineup and not get Melendez going, the number 3 batter going, nobody was going.
Yeah, they did a great job against Melendez and Murphy Staley. And Murphy Staley was actually, in terms of average and stuff, he was right up there, and number of hits, he was right up there with Melendez. I think Murphy Staley had 100 hits coming into the game yesterday, so he's having a Jack Moss type of season. And Skylar Messenger didn't do much. Austin Todd had 3 hits, and they were all singles. Silas Ardoin had a single, but it was just a very well pitched game, top to bottom. And there were some situations where, like I said earlier in the first segment, that A&M kind of put themselves in tough predicaments, but they were able to make pitches and get out of it. And it's, obviously, you want every inning to be clean, 1, 2, 3, nobody gets on. But it's just not the way baseball is going to work. So you're going to have to manage base runners and be able to manage innings with runners on base. And that was as big of a story of the game yesterday as anything, was A&M's ability to pitch with runners on.
Richard, I've heard from a lot of people, friends of mine, and just our viewers, listeners, that are like, dude, you're in the chair of TexAgs Radio at the right time. And it really is at the right time because of what we see happening with Jimbo, what we see happening with Buzz, what we see happening with Johnny Taylor, all over the place, golf, and now obviously Schloss and Aggie baseball.
Mm-hmm. It's a special time in Aggie athletics, that's for sure. And I think the trajectory of pretty much all these programs on campus is, headed up. And that's an exciting time to be an Aggie and an Aggie fan.
What about the maroon and white turnout out there? How's it been?
So I think I honestly, man, so we're up in the press box. We can't really see much of the grandstand behind home plate or anything like that. But I had a friend that was at the ball game last night, and I asked him yesterday. I was like, how was the turnout? Well, was the crowd 50-50, maroon, burnt orange kind of thing? He said, no, it definitely favored A&M. So that was pretty cool to hear. But as far as people around town, I think you can see that Jello shot leaderboard and see that it's not really, there are more hogs and more rebels in town. But I think there's been a good A&M turnout for sure.
Yeah, good stuff. From a around Aggieland perspective, what are some things you want to touch on here from Aggie baseball?
So, obviously there's a lot of Aggie baseball going on, and it's really the only sport that's still being played on campus. But I do want to give a shout out to Sam Bennett making the cut at the U.S. Open. Brauny's on the phone right now, but so I'm sorry for distracting him. But shout out to Sam. Excellent for him, and I think he's only going to keep going up. And I think it's huge that he's coming back. And then as far as baseball goes, they lost that game Friday afternoon, 13-8. Give up way too many free passes, and they come back. Biggest game of the year, biggest rival, amazing showing, and blow out the Longhorns. It's in the moment that nobody's going to forget. And they were playing for their lives, and they've got another game. They get to play Tuesday, 1:00 p.m. That game will be on ESPN against Notre Dame, and I'm excited to see what they can do against the Fighting Irish. And I know there are a lot of fans around the country, not just Aggies, that don't like Notre Dame, so it might be sweet to send them home as well.
Richard, it's funny. I think everybody had the same experience yesterday, knowing that the Trevor Warner at bat and the Jacob Polish strikeout of Ivan Melendez all felt like moments that we're going to remember in Aggie history for a long time.
Absolutely. That 11-pitch at-bat was the at-bat of the year, and then that strikeout of Ivan Melendez with the bases loaded, a perfect pitch. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the StatCast data, but it was corner, low inside. It was a strike, absolutely. I know there's a lot of people in Austin who might be complaining about that call, but it was 100% a strike. I mean, that was a fantastic relief performance from Jacob Ballish, and then just everybody on that team, man. You know, Trevor Warner and Jack Moss only had one hit apiece, but if you take either of those at-bats out of the game, it's a completely different one.
How was the atmosphere for you? I mean, you're there sitting with Casey. You guys are dancing, enjoying the. How did it feel from an A&M perspective in the stadium?
Yeah, I didn't want to sit in any suite. I didn't want to sit in a press box. I wanted to sit in the stands. And the way the stadium is, I mean, I did this. I sat with. I got the full experience. I sat with Hunter and Amber and the kids. Somehow they were front row behind home plate, very front row for Auburn, Ole Miss. Sat down there with them for about 4 innings. Went and found Ben Mincy from Barstool during the Ole Miss game because he's such an Ole Miss guy. I was like, okay, I want the Ole Miss experience. Sat with the Ole Miss fans. That was wild. We took a lap with Cole. Cole was with us, Kubelik. We did a lap around the stadium. The outfield's fun. That's where you have kind of fans from everywhere just hanging out. But you walk around that concourse, and everywhere you go, you can watch. Yesterday, it's like I see all the Texas parents. They're not sitting in seats. They're sitting in the concourse. Like you see, like they're all wearing the jerseys. Yeah. Like Melendez's family, and everybody is over there. Over here, you know, on the A&M side are all the A&M parents. You know, because they do the same thing here at Olson. They're up in the concourse. Rudis, Menifee, Prager. Met the Rocks finally. I hadn't met Dylan's parents. Great people. I've got a mutual buddy that's actually the family dentist for Moo and Dylan, so I've been hearing about them since the minute they became Aggies. But there's not a bad view in there. Wherever you're sitting, wherever you're at, so it was cool. Like I wanted to soak up the A&M fan atmosphere experience, and I did that and then some. Had to go sit with Jackson and Katie Schloss for a while because Jackson he's got the most energy of anyone in that stadium. You know, they're cheering on Dad, and so the whole thing was awesome. I'm so glad, just on a personal level, for like my enjoyment, the A&M fans' enjoyment, but specifically Schloss, the coaching staff, and those players that they got to win one. Now, obviously, that wasn't why they went there. There ain't one guy on that team that went there to say, man, we got to break the losing streak in Omaha. We got to win a game. Nobody thought that. We're going to go down there and try to win the whole damn thing. Not one guy was like, we want to go win one game there, and that would be a great accomplishment for this season. Like we're saying, and like everybody would agree, it is. Not one guy there would have ever thought that. But I am happy they got that. They got to walk off the field winners. They got to run out there on the third out. I'm sitting there watching it. Everybody kind of pushed down to the dugout. Had a couple of lunatics, including Casey, running around on the dugout. But it was cool to just, you know, I went down there, and I guess Micah was like the last one, and he and I kind of had to go through the dugout to get in, and OU was already filling up the dugout, and just hearing the OU guys kind of congratulate him as he went by and see how happy he was. You know, they'd all know each other. And just to see the smile on the guy's face and the whole team as they're coming off, it's awesome. And to beat Texas makes it that much sweeter.
So my people, do me the favor. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you liked about this video. Tell me what you didn't like about it, and get that algorithm going. Subscribe to the channel, and go to TexAgs.com to get all the great content you want out there. It's all about baseball. We will have some football on the show tomorrow, as Billy will rejoin us. Thank you so much for watching. We call it TexAgs Rewind.